Well, thank you for joining the Grim and Bloody Theater. We hope that you're safe and well. Today we have a special treat. We have Chris Margetis. Did I pronounce that right?
Margetis, that's exactly correct. Good job.
Mike Carey, both filmmakers. We're part of an amazing horror comedy film you're going to enjoy. It's called the Manson Brothers Midnight Zombie Massacre. This was directed by Max Martini, written by Mike Carey and Chris. And we have both gentlemen on today. Thank you for coming on today, spending time talking with Kevin, Joe, and myself. And
thank you so much for having us, man. This is awesome.
Thank you for allowing us
to be here. Thank you.
Screen your film. I'll go ahead and say that without knowing anything, I like going, even though I kind of have an idea of the filmmakers that are going to be on before the show. I kind of like just going into the movie as a fan of horror. I want to see like what the an attendee would see if they were just walking into a theater. They saw your movie poster outside. They're sitting down with a popcorn and a Coke, and they just take it for what it is, right? I love that because I'm a fan first before, the producer or the film festival coordinator. I just like to sit in there and just take it all in like a newbie, just like show me what you got kind of a thing. Right. And right off the bat, I can tell that you guys love wrestling. Like that's the thing. You guys enjoy it. It came off so naturally. I would swear that this was two former WWF guys who just fell into the script and say, you know what, we're going to make something great here. And we're going to put, our passion for wrestling, because that stuff looked just like WWE. The stunts
we really were wrestlers.
Yeah, we actually really were professional wrestlers. It was about 25 years ago, though.
I mean, it came off. Yeah. It came off like that. It didn't come off like a couple of filmmakers who were pretending. It came off like you guys knew exactly what you were doing. Even the actors, when you guys weren't involved, even the actors, I guess you can call them the secondary actors, the people are just in there making it look good. They were on point. They had the moves right. They had the flips. It was enjoyment. And coming from me, I loved wrestling as a kid. I would watch it all day long with my mom. Randy the Macho Man Savage, all of them. So it was kind of a trip down memory lane, as well as getting my fix for horror and practical effects. So thank you for that combination. I've never seen that kind of a combination before. I think that's what really makes this movie stand out. So you guys, it was a success. I see that it's getting good reviews. So I wish this movie all the best. And we'll jump into questions. I know Kevin and Joe have questions, but I just wanted to start off and saying thank you for making an awesome, funny, and horrific film.
Thank you so
that
much.
made it's so hard to make the zombie genre different nowadays, because everyone has an idea of what the zombie is supposed to look like. Totally. And usually they come out looking the same. But your film, it stands out. It really does.
Thank you so much, Anthony. That really means a lot, man. Thank you very much.
Very true. For me, as I was saying, I'll go and ask my question, was that I really enjoyed the very beginning of the film with the lovely comic book, cover. That to me was like when the little kid comes in and starts talking to his dad. It's like, I was thinking, did this kid just bring in a Playboy or something? And then no, it turns out to be a comic book. And the wife's over there cooking or doing whatever, and she's like, But no, that was a fantastic cover of the, Manson Bros, and their story and how it kind of goes into this film. And for you guys who are both the stars and the writers of it, what was harder, doing the writing or acting?
Acting.
Physically, without a doubt, the acting was much more difficult. I would say, the writing was difficult as well, because we started writing the film back in 2014. So,
it went through a lot of iteration.
Went through a lot of phases, and there's an old saying like in the music business, you get a lifetime to write your first album and 5 months to write your second one. And we kind of took that lifetime to do the first one. Part of that was because we were busy trying to raise money to actually make the movie, so we had plenty of time on our hands to do it. Yeah, but I mean, physically, without a doubt, especially on our shoot schedule, which we shot the whole movie in 17 days, and there were a lot of 15, 16, 17-hour days, and Mike and I were virtually in almost every scene. So it was very demanding, and we did also 95% of our own stunts too. Now, and that's not because we're macho or big cojones or anything like that, but you save a lot of money when your stunt guys make a lot of money, and so it was fiscally responsible for us to do as much as we could.
There you go. And go ahead, Kevin.
Well, I'm sorry, Joe. Thank you. I have to. I mean, we brought up the subject of wrestling being a heavy influence on this, and it obviously is. You revealed to us off camera that you were former wrestlers, got into this. I noticed that there was an influence of wrestling history. We talked about the Mexican films of the '60s, Santo, Blue Demon. Was that something that came to you kind of early on in the process, that you wanted to have some fun with that, or have that come into play?
Yeah, 100%. So I was a big fan of those movies going way back, and when I twisted Chris's arm into doing the project, that was the original intent, because I always thought it was endearing, these Santo movies, to see Santo, the wrestler, in his silver mask, walking into a fancy restaurant where everybody's dressed to the nines, and there he is in his gear and his mask, and nobody says anything, nobody notices. And I always thought, that'd be really fun to explore in a modern day setting. So that was really the genesis of the whole thing. So when Chris and I wrestled, we were not masked wrestlers, but I thought it would be fun to have the Manson brothers be masked villain wrestlers. And I thought, for a couple of reasons. One, because it's interesting to look at, you already got a gimmick. And two, because Chris and I were unknowns. So we figured, it's going to be a lot easier to convince somebody to let us star in our own film if nobody sees our faces, because then it's not going to matter if you look goofy like we do, or if they hire two handsome guys, so, but as it turned out, we wound up not wearing the masks the whole film, and you see our ugly faces anyway. But yeah, Santo was a huge influence on this. Huge.
I think the other part of that too was that if you follow those movies, those guys are always battling a different villain in every film, right? And so as we didn't plan on, obviously, I mean, in our wildest dreams, we wanted to make sequels. So the idea was no different than Laurel and Hardy versus whatever, or
Abbott and Costello.
So Abbott and Costello versus the Wolfman, or whatever it was. But it was the idea of having these two idiots that really just were kind of falling into these situations where they're constantly trying to save the world, and they really don't want to be there at all. It's just, they kind of have to do it. So that was part of it as well.
Yeah, and we're both huge fans of the horror genre. I mean, at Halloween at my house is like a religious holiday, so it's like
me too.
Yeah, it's nothing but horror. You're not allowed to watch anything but horror movies in my house from about the end of September to November 1st. That's it. If I catch anybody watching anything other than horror movies, they gotta leave. That's it. So anyway, we put
if this ain't Boris Karloff, you're out the door.
Yeah, that's right. If there's not a monster in it, you better not be watching it.
I want to go ahead and pause it right here before you get any questions, and I want to introduce the trailer. Mike or Chris, did you want to go ahead and introduce the trailer so audience can get a tease of what they can expect when they actually see the feature?
Mikey, go right ahead, buddy.
You want me to comment on the trailer?
Yes.
So the
trailer, your trailer voice, your trailer narrator voice.
My trailer narrator voice. So what you are about to see
in a deep dark dungeon.
What you're about to
two guys.
Trailer for the Manson Brothers Midnight Zombie Massacre, and you're going to see a lot of cool clips, but there's a lot more to be seen.
All right, let's run it. This is the trailer for the Manson Brothers Midnight Zombie Massacre. Enjoy, guys.
Five, Touch, is it me or gotten a lot bigger since we saw you in Amarillo last month?
You know, Jack Gage got a hold of this new GH for me. Like Market? It's gonna turn me into a freaking monster! Yo, Dutch. You okay, brother?
Means are you okay?
What the hell happened?
He fell on top of me. He just started mumbling about being thirsty or something, like he was in a trance.
Oh, Dutch was sick like that. My heart!
We are cancelado. The power's out everywhere. The city is locked down.
Uh-oh.
And we're back. Hope you guys enjoyed that.
And that was
just
quick.
a little taste,
That was
a
quick.
snippet of what you could expect. But I know when I saw the trailer, when we received your invitation to come on, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good, right? I set some time aside. I'm like, babe, I need to be at least 2 or 3 hours to watch this movie. I'm gonna be in my office with the door closed. Yeah.
And
If
I
you
thought-
hear any
Have fun with it.
noises,
She knew you were watching a horror movie, right?
It's-
Yeah, right.
Okay, all right, just making sure.
no, Gino.
But
It's
I
not
wanted
like-
to ask. Oh, go
It's
ahead.
not like Brick and those Playboy magazine, the girly magazines that
Yeah.
he has to explain to his girlfriend why he did it that one time.
Mm-hmm.
That setup, that scene was just priceless. And it's part of what I liked about Brick is that he's kind of
Skull.
Let's go.
he's so sweet, but yet he's this wrestler. He's a bone cruncher, but he's this kind of like doofus, you know.
Oh, he's a total dude.
Yeah, he's not kind of like a doofus. He's a total doofus.
Yeah.
When we wrestled,
Yeah.
those were really our wrestling names. I was Skull Manson, he was Stone Manson. We were really those guys. But I am kind of an idiot in real life, so I just blew it up, and him murdering the language all the time. And I really talk like that, so it wasn't that far-fetched. And he's constantly having to correct me, and like I'll call him up like, "Hey, don't we have that thing that he's like?" Hey, just told you 5 minutes ago. You know, where you been? You know, it's like I drive him absolutely bonkers. It's for him, it's like having a kid. You know, so
When you think that he's on the gambling thing again, and you say, "Well, I have to do an invention," you know, and again, I'm like,
By the way, Kevin, I wanted to compliment you for catching that about the magazines and the play there, because it happens so fast and not a lot of people catch it. So and
Very few.
Yeah, very few people catch it. And I think Lucy's response to Skull is priceless as well, because she loves him and she doesn't want to make him feel bad that he's an idiot, right? So she goes along with his nonsense, you know.
Yeah, no, I do have to say that I did enjoy the ladies who portrayed your girlfriends in this film.
Yeah.
Oh,
They were really sweet. You know, they're not the typical like groupie, but they were just like
No, they know the
perfect for
business.
role.
They've been around it, and so the girls who play the girls. So Shannon Murray plays Lucy, and Karen Corona plays Mina, and they did such a great job. And they came on, and Shannon actually came on late, and they both just worked really hard with us. And we asked a lot of them. It was a hard shoot. They didn't complain. They were professional. They were prepared. They totally committed 100%. And I just thought they worked out great. They were just awesome.
They were both great.
We don't
And,
talk a lot about them as much as we should. So.
No, we don't. And you know what? Karen Corona, in the fight scenes that we have in the film, she did her own stunts. So we had a stunt woman who came in for it, and Karen kept kind of saying, "I think I can do better than that. I think I can do better than that." And she's she's a great gal, man. And she just was like, throw me down as hard as you can. Do whatever you need to do. I mean, she was.
He took a pounding, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, I wound up with a black eye after she was fighting me off.
Oh, yeah. I was going to ask you where you got that from, because I didn't remember.
That's where it was from. So, but they were both great. Shannon was great. Karen was great. They did an awesome job.
I had a question on the practical effects. How much time did you guys spend researching the different kills? Because we're absolute fans of prep. We're old school. We love seeing the blood on screen. Don't give me any of that Zack Snyder shit that you put it in post, right? We want to see the guts on the floor. But tell me a little bit, because we like to ask filmmakers, like, what kind of designs or ideas did you have as far as the kills? Did you say, we want to do it this way? Like, how much preparation went into the different kills? Like, did the actors have any kind of say in how they wanted to go out?
No.
No, they did not.
No. And here's the thing: when you make a low budget movie, trust me when I tell you, the script had a lot more killing in it, and it had a lot more unique killing in it. But we were very constrained by budget. And the guys who did the practical effects were just awesome. And a lot of the stuff, there were things that we tried that didn't work. And these guys had to switch gears like in the middle of the day, and they made it work.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm not going to give away which scenes, because I don't want to give away the movie to your viewers or anything. But
That's right.
there are parts that were not designed that way, but they wound up to be pretty good because these guys were able to change gears on the fly. Which was great, but we did what we could. We had a little bit of say. I mean, pretty much what we wrote is what wound up on the screen. So there's nothing on the cutting room floor here.
Yeah.
There was just a lot more of it that we had to cut out prior to us shooting because we just didn't have the budget for it.
Yeah.
One of the things that we thought was really important, though, and I think and our director Max took it, kind of to the nth degree, was just what you said. No cutaways, no BS. Like, when it got serious, we wanted it to be brutal and violent and bloody and every other thing. And even Max, who has zero background in the horror genre by his own admission, but is a really, artistic kind of guy, he immediately came and said, man, I want this thing to be gruesome when it happens.
I think it helped that he didn't have a background.
I think so too. And he didn't disappoint. I mean, when the red stuff comes, the red stuff comes.
He had some great ideas too that we couldn't pull off, and it was unfortunate. But hopefully, in the next one is a lot bloodier, so hopefully we'll be able to pull that one off.
I got to ask you about you talked about some of the budget constraints and the issues on the practical effects and so forth. But your film, your budget allowed you to get E.B. Sweeney, who was a leading man star for many years in the 1990s, and then you get Randy Couture, who was just an icon to many of us. Talk about DB was just the craziest, seediest promoter.
Well, so
all the stuff that's going around him, and he's worried that he's not going to be able to, to get the show going.
You cut his nut.
There's, two-part answer to that.
Yeah.
We actually had a very nice budget for a horror film.
Yeah.
We made the film for just south of a couple $1 million, which is in the horror genre is a good budget.
Yeah.
But what was really a benefit was, again, Max's, career, 30 years in the industry, 20 years in the industry, I'm sorry. Or is it 30? Jesus. Let's call it 25 just to split the difference. The guy has worked with everyone in Hollywood, including directors, including everybody. He worked with Randy when he was on The Unit. He worked with DB on a pilot that they did. So, he was really able to bring in these guys, to put around Mike and I, who elevated this thing so much. And, they were willing to do him a favor, from a price perspective. And one of the million different things, but again, that's testament to Max, because he was able to get these guys that, would never do a zombie movie in a million years, right? But because they knew him, it was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And the second part of that is DB and Adrian Pasdar, both of them. Man, they came ready to go. Like, they showed up. DB
they were ready to rumble, man.
He had his own suit. Like, that was not wardrobe. He brought all that stuff with him.
Yeah,
I mean, he was ready to go.
He bought a toupee and everything.
Purple suit?
Yeah, he bought that, man.
Oh.
That's his. He still has.
That's his. What the fuck?
He came with. He had an idea. When he signed on and he agreed to do it, he's like, I got some ideas. And the great thing about working with Chris, I come from an improvisational comedy background. So for me, everything is, hey, let's throw it at the wall and see if it sticks. Well, he's the same way. So for us, it's like, we want to of course, bring your ideas. We're not those guys, right. No. It says right here, and we wrote it that way, and that's the way you got to do it. No. We're not like that. And Max, as a director, gave everybody a lot of latitude as actors to sort of paint these characters with broad strokes. I mean, he gave direction, don't get me wrong, but he gave us a lot of latitudes. There was a lot of improvising with a lot of the stuff. And well, at the last minute, we were constantly saying, oh, this sounds funny. Let's do this. Okay. But DB came and he took this little character we wrote and he blew the thing up. That's 100% him. I mean, it's our dialogue coming out of him, but the characterization is 100% him. Like, we never envisioned it.
Yeah. Plus, both him and Adrian, both those parts were like 5-line parts to begin with.
Yeah, they were small.
And so when they came on board and we knew they were coming on board, we all kind of collaborated and we started writing stuff for them and that kind of thing, and really expanded the characters, which took it from kind of an ensemble cast to begin with, and then just made it that much bigger. And again, those guys, and their talent, the rising tide lifts all
boats. It helped us,
right?
as actors.
Oh my God, absolutely.
As crappy as actors as we are, I think it elevated us.
1,000,000%.
And the great thing, I think if you've seen the movie, there's not a throwaway character in that film. All those characters have a depth to them. Even in this ridiculous, ludicrous situation, and you kind of care about them a little bit. Even the even the crappy.
Right down to the drunk, or to the right down to the fight doctor that's high on oxygen.
That's Adrian Pasdar.
Oh.
Yeah. Adrian did great in that small role.
I'm good.
Of course.
And he loved it. We're like,
guys,
we got to give Adrian something to do. And I'm like, oh, let's have him huffing nitrous oxide the whole time. And Max and Chris are laughing. We're like, yeah. So we told Adrian, you're going to be huffing nitrous. He's like, perfect. I'm in.
You got wrestlers in this movie, and then you got Michael or Hearn.
Yeah.
Yes.
We needed a huge guy to be this guy. And Max had worked out with Mike. And so Mike was like, yeah, I'm in 100%. And he came on and he was just wonderful to work with. He's just a sweet guy. And one of those few dudes, I will say, I'm a gym rat. Usually guys on screen are not as big in real life. Michael Hearn's bigger than he looks on pictures. He's massive.
And it's ridiculous how strong he is. Like,
oh
it's
my
just
God.
Insane.
When you see him tussling with Chris in the film, so I'm not going to give it away, but I'll say that ain't acting.
No, that's him.
I'll tell you the story about that. I went to the stunt guys and I was like, hey man, give me the tortoise shell, right? I'm going to put it underneath my jacket. Because Mike is so strong, Michael Hearn, so is Mike Carey, but Michael Hearn is so strong that I knew there was no way he was going to be able to gimmick this fight properly, and I was going to get my ass kicked no matter what. So I went to him and I said, Mike, I said, I got the humpback on, right? I said, I want you just to beat the living shit out of me when you run around with it. Because I figured if I gave him the okay, it would make me less pissed off when he did it anyway. So believe me, that was like 8 takes of him literally beating the living shit out of me.
The first time he did it, I was off camera going, I'm like, oh my God, he's killed. I'm like,
he killed Kenny.
Yes.
That was so, and that goes back to answering your question of which was tougher, writing or acting. That night, acting was way tougher. So
that's where somebody needs to come in and say, so you wanted to be an actor, huh?
Yeah. Well,
Amen
make
to
movies,
that,
huh,
brother.
kid?
Now your film has some lore behind it. I love that, the little details. Now I'm not familiar, but maybe you guys can elaborate. The comic book of the Manson Brothers.
Yes.
Is that real?
Well, so
it looked pretty damn real in the film.
A guy named Big Chris did that, and he did a great job of it. He's an artist in the Mexico area, and he's him and his wife, and they were awesome. They did that.
interestingly too, that was Max Martini's idea. We had shot a completely different opening to the film, which basically showed Mike and I in this downward spiral of moving up the ladder to become world tag team champions, and then mug shots and us coming out of, you know, bars with handcuffs on and things of that nature. You know, and Max called us one day, he's like, this isn't working, but I've got this idea. And he pitched us on this idea of having it be inside the world of a comic book, which we loved. And we ran with it. And like Mike said, we had a guy who had some great artwork, and what it really did, since you guys have seen the film, is set up the ability to kind of continue the stories via different audience. So
it also pulled the pin on the reality thing.
Yeah.
So like when we do Q&As, when people go, how could that happen? How could that, like, it's a comic book.
Right.
So
Anything
it was really a genius idea from Max. And when he kind of laid it out what exactly he wanted, and me and Chris went to the Grindstone, and we cranked out this 2 or 3 page script, and amazingly, word for word, what we wrote on the first shot was what made it into the film.
Yeah.
And it was really funny, and that's due to the actors too.
And the actors did an awesome job on that. Scott Pete and Minnie Robinson,
Charlie
Shotwell. I mean, and you guys probably, if you've seen Eli on Netflix, that's Charlie Shotwell who's the lead in Eli. And they were just phenomenal. I mean, all three.
Scotty Pete, who plays Harley, just he knocks it out of the park. And Mindy is so funny when you see her. She's really a funny chick, and I didn't know her prior to that, and she was real hilarious.
That's good to know, because as I was mentioning earlier about that opening sequence about the comic book, and you're watching, the wife and the dad talking to the little son, going like, "Yeah, this is the first edition." It's like, what? Okay, thank you.
It opens up
as
so
long
many
as it wasn't a Playboy.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, but it just opened up a whole different world of stuff. And then he and I were like, well, now it's a lot easier to do a second and a third installment of the Manson Brothers. We just crank out another comic book. And that way, you can have them in different situations. They don't really have to even be connected, so it's
I'll tell you what, the next film that you do, though, you gotta, if you're considering at all what characters to bring back that you can, gotta bring back the referee. when they asked him, did you get bit? And he says, only by the fifth that I'm drinking. And the fifth that I'm drinking, I fell to the floor.
That is based on a real guy.
That's actually based on a real guy.
A real guy that we
really
wrestled with. He was a ref, and he was constantly hammered. And one time he actually fell out of the ring. And he would never remember the spots. He was a wonderful guy, but he was always drunk. And the actor that plays him's name is Luce Rains. And you can see Luce Rains in everything from The Bloodfather to the Yellowstone series with Kevin Costner. He's a prolific actor. He's been in 100 movies, and he's a wonderful, wonderful guy. I cannot wait to work with that guy again if I get to work with him again. Yeah,
and the rules that he gives you to start the fight. Oh my God.
Yeah, because he knows it's bullshit. He's got to say something so the audience thinks he's actually giving. And ironically, that's actually stuff that happened to us while we were wrestling, because we're talking in the ring to the audience. They don't know what we're talking about. So he would have to come over and say something, be like, all right, now yank my pants down and wiggle my wang at you, or something like that. That's what he would be saying. But the audience, it would make it look like he was really like laying into us about something. So that was based on reality.
So that's a good segue, guys. I wanted to touch on your past history wrestling, and what did you pull from that when you were putting this movie together?
All those characters.
Yeah, characters number one. So Mike and I were actually we were Skull Manson and Stone Manson back in Mike was early 90s, I was late 90s, early 2000s.
97.
Yeah, so I was very fortunate because when I was getting into the business, I hadn't been in that long, and Mike was the first guy that I met when I got there. And Mike was transitioning out of wrestling because he was a fireman. Mike's also a Marine, by the way, so we thank him for his service all the time.
Thank you for your support.
And I was fortunate that Mike suggested that his partners, who were called the Brotherhood and the Manson Brothers, he suggested that they take me on as the new Manson brother. I jumped all over it, of course. And so, many years later, when we got together, it was I'll let Mike tell that story. But when we started writing, the characters were coming from guys that we knew in wrestling all the time, particularly Captain Marvelous, who is, if you enjoyed that character, he is 100%.
Give him a gold brick, he would complain that he strained his back lifting it up.
Picking it up.
I missed one fucking number and I could have got 30,000.
Wait a minute, that's a true story. That's a
true story. Yeah.
Guy was bitching he won the lottery. I'm like, it's 100%. We took a little artistic license with the situation, but that's a true story.
And that actor's a guy named Jay Lund, who is another 30-year veteran in Hollywood. Who is. I'll tell you a story about Jay Lund. When we watched the video of his audition, Max sent it to us. It was like, don't even bring anybody else in. That's the guy.
That's the guy.
Right there.
He's got
to be him.
Good. My favorite scene in it that he's in is.
Don't blow it. No spoiler alerts. You gotta say spoiler
I'm not gonna. The scene where you're playing cards. I'm not gonna give away any dialogue. It's just a fun scene because it wasn't a scene that I was in. So it was the first scene I got to watch being filmed. So as a writer, when you're acting, you take it for granted. But when I was sitting off camera and I watched this thing come alive that we had written, and I was like, oh my God, that's almost exactly, because not as a writer, when your film gets made, not a lot of things wind up how you picture them in your head. They're always different or whatever. But this one was pretty darn close to the way he and I had worked it out over these years period. And I was like, oh my God, this thing came to life. It was so awesome. And Jay was so good. He's just such a great actor, and he's such a great guy. We had really great people on the movie to a person. Yeah. So can't say enough good things about him, but he was hilarious too. And he totally, again, embraced this complaining, just miserable
superhero.
Yeah.
It's interesting to note too. Oh, go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
No, please.
Well, I was going to say, touching on what Mike said, we had this cast, and it wasn't even just the cast. It was the cast, it was the crew, it was everybody. But we had this cast of just like mutantly outward alpha males, everybody. We had Dave Meadows, who plays Carson, the Crippler Murdoch, is a former Navy SEAL. Obviously, we had Boss Rude. We had Randy Couture. We had Jay Lund, who's 6'6" and weighs 380 pounds or something like that. And yet it was the least amount of ego you've ever seen in your life. I mean, every single person was there. Didn't matter how big or small their role was. I mean, they were into it. We all had a blast. It was like the magic set of all time. And every one of these guys, especially for a bunch of guys who are name actors or name fighters or whatever, to be there with two guys, Mike and myself, who no one has a clue who they are in the acting world. For them to surround us with that kind of talent and
treat us with the respect that they treated us with, which they didn't have to do, and they were so gracious to us. And it was really, I wanted to mention, because you touched upon it before, the two actors that play the other wrestlers that Chris and I actually wrestled against. So that Jack Cage is played by Jason Coviello, and Rick Raines is played by Tim Stafford. And Jason and I had met before on another set. He was an actual stuntman, but they came in and they didn't know anything about wrestling. I mean, they're both very athletic. So we took a couple of wrestlers from the local Albuquerque wrestling promotion, and they were really indispensable to us in helping train these guys so they didn't get hurt and we didn't get hurt. And they picked it up right away. And when I watched that match, I'm like, man, they do a pretty good job of pulling it off for a couple of guys that had never done it before. And a couple of
it ain't easy, and it takes a long time to learn how to do it. They were both very good. They picked it up really quick.
You mentioned about chemistry meshing between the cast and so forth, and this is especially interesting because you have two guys that are coming in, Randy and DB Sweeney, coming in, who are stars, who have been in other films. Who could I'm not saying that that these guys have that personality, that temperament, but there's actors that are out there who would come into a film like this, say, I'm the star. I am. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm doing it because I need my bar bill paid. But I'm the star. Kiss my ring.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
DB comes in, and he's got his own dollar store suit that he's wearing, and his toupee and all this stuff, and he's ready to go. He's like, I'm loving this. Randy the same way.
Yeah.
That's something that you kind of noticed.
Oh, right off the bat, I had met DB. I knew DB prior to that. We had done a movie in Chicago together, a Spike Lee film called Chirac, and I met him there. And we had so I knew Max and I had done a series together, so he knew DB, so I introduced myself, and we sort of became friends. And so when Max called him and asked him, he was like, yeah, but he came in just raring to go, and we noticed right off the bat that, hey man, these guys are really giving. They're really giving, because they didn't have to do that for us. They could have come in and phoned it in and collected their check. And Adrian, who's been in a ton of A-list stuff and is just, an amazing actor, both of them, and Randy's status speaks for itself. And these guys were just very gracious to us. And, of course, we didn't try and pull any bullshit with them either, because we're not like that. And, we wanted to make sure that we were as giving to the most lowliest person on the set to the highest person on the set. Nice. And so I think that everybody just sort of, and these are those type of guys though. These aren't the type of guys that are come in there and act like divas and all that stuff. They're just not like that. Like I couldn't imagine like Randy being like, okay, nobody bother me for 5 minutes while I listen to Mozart or whatever. They're not like that. Anything we asked them to do, they were like, let's go. And the actors, you don't know their names, but they're going to be names like Dave Meadows, who plays Carson. I mean, Dave Meadows was a SEAL team sniper, and here he is fumbling with a weapon. You know what I mean? It's like you have to put your ego away for that stuff. You have to put your ego away to be goofy like we asked these guys to be. And none of them, they all just gave and gave and gave and gave. But we all had such fun. And I think it comes off on screen when you watch the film. I bet a lot of people might think to themselves, boy, these guys look like they're having a blast. We were.
That's what that film is all about too. It's like, for me, it was a blast watching it because everyone in that film was having such a good time, be it like, yeah, man, what situation are we going to get into, or what situation are we going to get out of,
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of trust there too,
The fact that you guys noticed that, like that is, to Mike and I, that's like the biggest compliment in the world, because that's all we wanted. How it took place. It's funny because we have a saying in the wrestling business called showing your ass, which is, when you're what we call a heel or a bad guy, you have to look like a complete chicken shit all the time if you're really going to get over as a bad guy. And you got to be willing to make the baby face, the good guy, look like, he can stomp your ass at any point in time, no matter how big a, size difference or whatever the case there is. And every one of these guys in this film, if they were wrestlers, would have been 100% willing to do that. And there's so many guys who aren't. And again, it just made the movie so much better than Mike and I think ever dreamt it would be. You know, all thanks to, again, not only the names, the guys who weren't names, and you know, just, and honestly, got truth down to the crew, anybody that worked, the stunt guys. I mean, the stunt guys were amazing.
Freddie Joe Farnsworth was our stunt coordinator. He's coordinated everything from Band of Brothers to World War Z. I mean, he's another former Marine, so of course we all got along. We lived with him too, and he's a nut, and he's great. All our
you guys saw Overlord, he coordinated that and did all the military stuff. Yeah, so I mean, and the guy's got more experience. You know, I mean, he's been on every set for 20 years.
Yeah, we have a saying, and it's 6 degrees of Freddie Joe. So if you want to get, you can get to anybody in Hollywood through Freddie Joe.
Yeah, he knows everyone. So
I got to, without giving away on the film, I can honestly say, you mentioned about butt shots. I can honestly say there's one butt shot that I didn't need to see.
And that's why it's on there.
We'll leave it at that. And we'll leave it at that. You can't unsee it.
Yeah. No, we had a little Todd Jenkins in it.
I'll let him know.
Like, okay.
Thank you. Next scene, please.
Like, this movie ain't for kids. This movie is never for kids. This is for
outrageous. You guys go for the throat on this. You guys go full throttle on it. It's outrageous, and I had a great deal of fun.
Man, thank you so much. That really, you know, that's all we care about. If you go to see this film or you watch it at home with your friends or by yourself, whatever you do, you watch this thing. If you forget about your trouble for an hour and a half, and when it's done, you go, you know what? That was damn fun. Mission accomplished. That's all we want to do.
That's very true.
You guys talk about.
Oh, you go ahead, Kevin.
No, please, Anthony.
Well, I just wanted to say to you guys real quick, I speak for Mike too. We have such an appreciation for what you guys are doing with this kind of thing, because
thank you.
As guys who make movies,
thank you.
It's you know, it's important to know that there's people out there who judge it by what it is and not, you know, us versus Schindler's List, right, or something like that. Like, all we're trying to do is make the movie that you see the title of. And for people to be able to appreciate that and judge it based on its merits of what it is, that means the world to us, because, you know, you're not putting it, it's not Siskel and Ebert where one movie is, you know, I don't know,
thumbs down.
You know, throw mama from the train, and the next movie is out of Africa, right? And but they're treating them exactly the same way. So
I think one thing you're going to find. Thank you. I think one thing you're going to find with us when you watch our show is that for all the film critics that are out there, there's a whole lot of pretension.
Yeah.
And you know, all of us here are going to have, let's take hypothetically an example like a Schindler's List. There may be, you know, either one of us or all three of us or all four of us who are going to say, yeah, good looking film, but dull.
Yeah.
The big thing about it, you know, to me about a film is one of the biggest cardinal sins you could do is to be boring.
Yeah. Well, we hope it wasn't boring.
Yeah.
Us?
Yeah.
No. Again,
we hope we weren't boring.
No. It's like for me, Kevin and Anthony, and wherever Al is, he might be escaping from his sanitarium. Just joking now. It's just that, you know, for me, watching movies, it's fun, because I don't go around thinking, oh my God, as you're mentioning Schindler's List or anything big. I'm looking for something that's going to be entertaining. Doesn't necessarily have to be, you gotta be super smart or a genius to figure out the twist in this film
or that film. Genius in our film.
It's just a movie that's a lot of fun, and you know, you take the combination of wrestling and zombies, and makes it worth the while to watch this film.
Thank you
And
so
that's-
much.
Well,
Thank you.
and I think
That's
what
so nice, you guys.
I think kind of what I was trying to say was that you know, people who get hung up on this whole thing of you know, oh, this is a masterpiece and this is, you know, this kind of emotional impact, you know, all this stuff. This is the greatest film ever made. And I have a tendency to sit back and go, oh, really? Point some stuff out to you, you know, and,
Yeah.
and it all comes down to everything is subjective.
Yeah, everything has its place, man. I like movies like that too. I like to watch stuff that's thought-provoking and serious, but not everything has to be thought-provoking and serious. You know, some things are, people look like they like diss films that are, you know, for lack of a better word, they're fluff. But fluff has its place, you know? Like sometimes you don't want to think about anything serious. I just want to be entertained. It's the Three Stooges, man.
Right.
Sit down and watch the Three Stooges. That
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can say that
the Marx
for
Brothers,
Kevin,
even
Joe,
better.
and I, we're at the end of the day, we're just fans of horror as well.
Yes,
we
so
have
are
our
we.
different kind of little professions. But
Honestly,
we
guys,
get to
that's the
watch a
thing. We are
movie
too. I mean,
that's
we're fans, you know.
in our alley, and it's good and exciting. Then we get excited because, you know, we watch a lot of film, and yeah, there's some good, there's some bad. But when we get to actually watch a good one that it's unique, that there's stuff that we haven't seen yet, right? You start to get that feeling like, well, I don't know what's going to happen next, right? I have no fucking clue.
Well, that's what we
I haven't
wanted.
seen a
That's what we
movie,
were going
I
for.
take
We're like,
this
let's
right
whip
before,
them this
so
direction.
my
Let's
hat's
whip
off
them
to you
that
two for creating that for us. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you,
Well,
guys.
thank you very
And
much.
we really appreciate that you noticed all the little minutia that we threw in there. And what we're hoping is people will watch it a few times and catch more and more stuff when they watch it, because there's a lot in there. On the surface, you may not catch it right away. There's a lot of stuff, and not to be pretentious, like, oh, we were so genius. It's not that. It's just we talk really fast and you'll miss it. So,
Right. That's the whole fun part about this film. Your characters are so likable that you're like, really? You know,
Really great
especially,
acting,
you know,
by
the
the way.
brothers.
Well, and like you said, the writing on it, the jokes here are so fast. You can go back and watch this film again and again and again, multiple times, and still catch something for the first time. You know, that's what's fantastic about it, and that's what, you know, some of your favorite films, whatever film you like, to have that happen. You go back and you catch something new when you rewatch it.
yeah. I think the biggest direction that, you know, and we wrote it this way as well, was the comedy. It wasn't intended to be joke punchline. It was just us talking situationally, and just to kind of throw the comedy away and not to put too fine a point on it. And if people caught it, they caught it. And if they didn't, they didn't. And if they caught it and they thought it was funny, great. And if they didn't, that was okay too, because there was something else coming down the line. So, you know, that was by intention.
By the way, I know you guys were talking about you weren't looking for sequels, or to sequelize, you know, this.
Oh no, we were.
Well,
Just
I mean,
wanted to be very.
you didn't start out thinking that it was going to be like sequelized and all this stuff, but then, and I won't ruin the ending. I noticed a rather James Bond kind of wrap up, like at the tail end of Bond films when they say James Bond will return.
Yeah, that's by intent.
That whole thing. Yeah, well, the whole thing of, well, like I said, I won't say, but there's a revelation at the end that the Manson Brothers' journey is not over.
No,
I hope not.
Just getting started.
No,
It's just
hey,
beginning.
yeah. Well, the second script is completely done. Yeah, we hope. The second script is done, and you know, we're in that process of getting this released, and hopefully we'll get the financing to do the second one.
Actually, we were about 3 weeks away from going into pre-production on the second one, and then COVID hit, and we lost our funding, which is a whole other story. So now we have to get funding again for that one and go through that whole process. So we hope that this one will do well enough that people who invest in these things will see the value in the product and allow us to do another one.
Well, you guys,
I will tell you if you like this one, you will really like
Margetis Ventures.
And I suggest for a third one, werewolves.
It's on the
Werewolf.
cover, man. It's been thought of. I love
That's
the
it.
werewolf genre, man. I love it. It's hard to do because of all the practical effects, but I love the werewolf genre. That's my favorite.
Yes.
So where can our followers find you guys?
Chris?
Well, you can, as far as the film or like us in general, you can find us.
You guys in general.
You guys in general.
Okay.
Push out the window. Go, hey, yo.
Adrian.
Hey, yo, it's Paul.
Real quick, Anthony, you mentioned Gravitas Ventures, and we're proud to be with them. Very excited. They were very excited about the film, and we're excited to be on their platform.
Awesome.
And moving ahead with them, and hopefully that'll continue into the second and hopefully beyond that. As far as where you can find us, we're at mansonbrothers.com. That's our site for all information, merchandise, all kinds of fun stuff like that. You'll see Mike, the lovely Mike, wearing his Manson Brothers t-shirt, 2 different designs, coffee mugs, all kinds
Nice
of fun stuff like
modeling
that.
job, Mike.
That is a nice
Right?
t-shirt. I'd sport that thing.
He's like a runway guy.
Yeah.
And then as far as social media, you can get us at Real Mike Carey, at C Margetis, as in the letter C, or wait a minute, I'll go backwards.
At Manson Brothers, the movie.
The movie, yes, exactly. And then we're also on TikTok and all kinds of other stuff that we don't understand because we're in our 50s. So,
That's
Who the
right.
fuck
We ain't
understands
technical.
TikTok?
yeah. And oh, by the way, if you want to shoot us an email, you can send it Chris at mansonbrothers.com. And we will respond to everything. So, we like to talk, obviously. So,
Real quick to both of you guys, you are working on a part 2. It's not dead even with this COVID.
The script is
No.
done.
No,
the
it's
script
done.
is finished.
The
Yeah,
script
it's
is
ready to go.
finished. It's
So,
been finished.
Okay.
We're just waiting to get the funds, and then we're going to shoot
That's-
right into it. We're also working on a 3rd one, and we're also working on 2 other films: a horror western, not a Manson Brothers film, and a drama. So we've got some things on the. But Manson Brothers is number 1.
And we've got the ideas for a series as well. For the
Yeah,
Manson
series.
Brothers.
Oh, you guys are
We
busy.
would love to do a
Guys and
series,
women.
a Kolchak,
That's
the
awesome.
Night Stalker type series.
Awesome.
Yeah, you know what? It's exactly right. It's a cross between that and like an X-Files type of situation. So that's kind of the plan. So
Yeah. Comic books, Dad, we'll do it all. We don't care. We're
whatever.
That's right.
The thing is that Darren McGavin made Night Stalker kind of
Oh,
what it
man.
is. And it's
Yeah,
hard
so-
to replace him. They tried it with Stuart Townsend. They
Yeah,
tried it,
didn't work.
and it just
No,
didn't work.
That failed miserably.
Yeah.
It's like when they tried to remake The Prisoner on.
Oh God, that's
Yes.
The Prisoner is my favorite TV show.
You
of
can't
all
remake The
time.
Prisoner. You can't remake you can. The Thing remake was actually really good. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
But
you
some
can't
things
remake.
are timely. You know,
No,
you
right.
can't remake the early '70s, and you
No.
can't remake the late '60s. So those things are worked because of the time period they were in. Same with the Twilight Zone and Night Gallery and Kung Fu and all that stuff. It worked because of the time period.
All right.
No, I agree. Like there are so many classic movies. It's like I always say, for me, it's like, hey, if you're gonna remake something that people have not seen.
Yeah, or that was shitty.
Yeah, that are really bad. That
Right.
Maybe with the technology today, you could upgrade it, but still not.
Yeah, you don't remake The Godfather, and you don't
Yes.
remake,
can't remake that.
Halloween.
Right. That does.
They better never remake Escape from New York ever. That's like
It's in the
they should
works.
Never remake that movie. That's bullshit.
Starring
It'll never
Matt
happen.
Damon.
It'll never happen.
Joke one, not there.
They
Well,
did do Escape from
Chris,
LA.
Mike, I
Yeah.
want to thank you
Yeah.
both very
Yeah.
much for coming on, spending some time with us, talking about your newest film. It was an absolute blast. You
That's
guys
great,
are
man.
busy. We can't wait to see your future work. And it was a fun ride. It was an unexpected
you.
ride, and I think those are the best rides when you don't know what's happening around the corner.
Thank you guys
You're
for
just
having
sitting
us.
in
It
and
was
you're
really
strapped
an
in.
honor and a pleasure.
And, this came off.
We'd
It was
love
very
to do
natural.
anything else you want. We'll do it
humorous.
for you.
And
you
guys,
did
thanks.
all the right
Guys, if
choices.
you're gonna have a cage match, make sure your cut man is on nitrous. Come on.
Yeah, for sure.
Make sure he
You
can
guys-
find you.
You gotta make
Thank you so much for having us on, man. It's been awesome. It's been a
Thank you.
blast.
Thanks,
Thank you very much,
We'll
guys.
talk to you guys
Thanks,
soon.
Anthony.
And
Yeah,
December
so-
4th, guys, Death Parade Film Fest, December 4th on Inventive. We'll be
Oh,
screening mucho films, features.
we'll get in touch with you about that. Maybe we'll come out.
panels.
Yeah.
Oh, we'd love it.
You guys want to screen the movie?
Love it.
Go ahead.
Oh,
No,
dude,
you're-
we'll talk about it.
He's the guy to talk to.
All right. Well, remember,
Yeah.
Manson Brothers opens tomorrow, September 10th. Apple
Hear that?
iTunes, Amazon,
Right.
YouTube, Google Play, video on demand everywhere in selected theaters across the country.
14 cities across the country.
Yes.
Anthony,
We'll
can I
definitely have to
can I-
get together, Chris, when we maybe go down to
can
LA.
I give a couple of shout outs?
Let me know.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah.
I got a couple of shout outs just real quick as we're wrapping this this up. I wanted to note on a couple of things, the passing of a friend of mine.
Move your camera down a little so we can see it.
What's that?
Move your camera
Oh.
down just a tad. Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
There you go.
No, it's a friend of mine, Gil Lang Young, who for the last 30 years, he was in the UK. He put together the Festival of Fantastic Films in Manchester. Hugely popular convention event that took place since 1990, and was a member of the Society for Fantastic Films before that. And he passed away just a few days ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Sorry to
Yeah,
hear
it's just it's very tough. And but I did want to give a shout out to on a very positive note to our friend Mario Cerrito. I think his real name is Mario Joseph, who is Human Hibachi, won for Best Feature at the New
Human
Jersey.
Hibachi. Holy
Oh,
shit.
Mario.
Human Hibachi won for Best Feature at the Atlantic City, New Jersey Horror and Fantasy Film Fest.
Oh, nice.
It's as
Awesome.
crazy as it sounds, guys. It's as
Mm.
crazy as it sounds.
With a
guys
title
would
like that,
actually
it
like
better
it.
win.
Human
We had some
Hibachi
guys we
would
knew that
actually
were
like
there, actually. Yeah.
that.
We had some guys that we know that were there at the Atlantic City Fest.
Yeah,
That's where our other co-host was.
Oh,
She's got-
okay.
Yeah.
he's got Human Hibachi 2 is going to be is in production. I'm not sure what stage it's in right now, but you guys would love Human Hibachi. It's very much the
Oh,
same
I'm
kind
there,
of
man.
horror
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Check it out.
I'm there.
For sure.
Just don't eat before you watch it.
No.
No,
Yeah. Whatever you do.
no. But anyway, thanks, guys.
Hey, thank
Thanks,
you
you
guys.
very
Thanks,
much.
Kevin. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Anthony. We appreciate
You're welcome,
it.
Mike.
Chris.
And Chris.
Kevin, Joe,
You-
as always,
and-
you make me look
Oh,
good.
you're good.
Or I make you, I don't know. We all look good together.
Oh, yes. We're a
know,
big
Joe.
We're a
happy
good-looking
family.
bunch of guys.
Anthony and I
Chris,
have the skin
guys.
thing going.
Yeah.
Well, see,
It's the
Hey, man.
family. I
And
tell
Mike.
you.
Joe,
Thanks for
I'm with
tuning
you,
in,
buddy.
everybody. Have a
See,
good night.
at least me and Chris can, we got the hair.
Until next time.
bye bye.
Rocking.
Guys.
Good.
Good night, everyone.